What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And today we're talking about Unico's Nova Blast cabinet, more specifically the final prototype before it goes into production that I got a chance to see in Kansas City last week. It was interesting. It was very in-depth. I was able to put together the base and the bar top, and what were my overall thoughts, what were my overall impressions. We're going to talk about that right now, because at the end of the day, you've got to decide if this is really worth your hard-earned money. Starting at $1,000, this thing is not exactly cheap. So what is it all about? Well, basically, this is an arcade machine, an arcade cabinet that you could bring home and plug anything into. At least that's what we're being told. At least that's what we are being sold. Is that the case? Well, I've got some video to show you, so let's go ahead and check it out right now. Okay, so we're going to start with the assembly of the base, and I was pretty impressed by the thickness of the metal that they're using. Also, the fact that they're using square tubing in all the corners just to keep everything nice and sturdy. The casters themselves, the wheels, are fairly small, maybe about 1.5 inches, but they all swivel and they do lock, so that's definitely a plus if you decide to move this thing around and actually rest on the casters themselves. Moving on to the coin mech, I thought it was an odd choice to just have a single player coin in and not a two-player. Depending on the arcade PCB you're using, it's going to maybe require 2 players. I'm not sure how they're going to work around this. Maybe map one of the buttons on the control panel as your second coin in button. Now, these are the 4 pockets that you bolt to the side of the base to allow you to kind of pick this up. It's a metal piece with a plastic pocket, a recess on the inside. This is the coin bucket that actually collects all the coins you coin in. And then this is, once again, a bracket that is part of that coin mech. Pretty thick. I was surprised at the powder coating too, not paint. Now check these out. These are the feet for this base. It is incredibly substantial. That's like a 1/2 inch threaded rod there. And I mean, just look at this. This thing is so beefy, way bigger than anything you're going to see even on a pinball machine. I thought that was really impressive. It does also include the screwdriver and the required bits to put this whole thing together. So they really have thought of everything. Really not a bad choice to include that for sure. Here's the corner brackets that are going to be very important when you assemble the entire base together. Once again, really thick, all powder coated. Going together, it's a little bit confusing when there's 0 instructions. You're going to have some instructions. We did not have that luxury, but once again, you're going to put the panels together and then use these corner brackets to really assemble everything, lining up all the threaded inserts that are in the 1 inch by 1 inch tubing. And then as you work, you're going to want to go ahead and get the brackets installed, and then all the small sheet metal screws will hold everything together. Once again, these brackets can be a little complicated. You see, I needed some assistance here getting this one lined up just right, but they do only go one way, so once you get all the holes lined up, you should be good to go. Okay, so far this thing is going together really well. Stainless hardware is included. It's all metal, so that means that it's not going to be as forgiving as wood. So don't tighten up everything until you have all the fasteners in place. And because these are stainless steel fasteners, I would highly suggest a little bit of anti-seize. All right, let's keep going. Installing that coin mechanism is pretty straightforward. It's the only part on the base that requires carriage bolts, and with all that done, now it's time to install those casters if you choose to use these, because those feet are more than substantial. But what isn't substantial is the weight. This thing is actually pretty light when you put it all together. And you're going to notice the top of the base has dimples that also match the little rubber feet that are mounted to the bottom of the topper of the bar top, which is what we're going to work on next. This thing was completely disassembled on the inside, and we had to put all of this together because of some damage that was done by the shipping company. Kind of breaks your heart, right? Something brand new gets dented up, which is exactly why you see some of that powder coating missing on the bottom there. But what you will also see is the custom boards and PCBs that are installed. Some of the encoders left and right. There's some of the power distribution, and that main board in the middle is what the JAMA cable connects to. Here's a great shot of the control panel that's going to be, should be disconnected. It should be free from the bar top when it ships to you. And you can see all thick metal. It doesn't stick out quite as far as a standard candy cab does, but I really had no issue as far as gameplay was concerned. Here we go, making all these connections. Once you line up that control panel to bolt it to the rest of the bar top, you're going to have to make all those little connections. Here are those feet that I was telling you about that match the dimples in the base. And now it's time to install the topper, which is going to contain the lit marquee and the 2 speakers. Just a couple connections, electrical connections, to make this happen, and then just a few screws up from the bottom. Now a quick look at the new monitor that has the new potentiometers that control the colors on that CGA signal. You can see how it mounts vertical and horizontal. It's pretty quick. There are a few screws that are going to have to be removed to do that. Here's the bezel that will also rotate based on the orientation of your monitor. There is a small ledge on either side that will hold the monitor in place while you secure it in the horizontal position, and then of course the ledge on the bottom will hold it in place while you secure it in the vertical position. Taking a look at the rest of the front of the cabinet, you can see the speaker wire connection, and then those 2 massive fans are going to get the heat out of this thing no matter what you place inside. Opening up the base, you're going to see the wires that connect to the coin-in limit switch. I think this probably could have been thought out a little bit better. Some cable management down here is going to go a long way. Now, what's going to support whatever game system or PC you put in the back? Well, it's a piece of wood that has melamine on either side. Here's a closer look at the JAMA connector. I believe this is going to be the final version. You can see how they take that standard JAMA connection and break it out into a couple different wires going to different encoders. And speaking of encoders, here's some USB encoders depending on what system, again, you use in this. If it's not JAMA, you could maybe hook a PlayStation 3 that we've seen Neosera posting on Twitter, or even a PC. Here's a quick look underneath. This is the audio board that's mounted to the bottom of the control panel. You can see everything is pretty tight in there. If you're going to make these connections, do this before you put the control panel on the bar top. Don't ask me how I know. Just trust me. Now, with this whole thing completely assembled, you can step back and see that it's definitely got that candy cab look from the front. If you look at it from the side, it kind of reminds me of a Vuelix being so skinny and not having to accommodate a big CRT. The marquee is nice and bright. The sound is really good. See those big exhaust ports. Here's what it looks like with the back cover off. There's a CPS2 A and B board in there. Now let's go ahead and put the cover on the back of the cabinet, get to the front of the cabinet, and check out some gameplay.
Yeah, it could work. What was it? Slip down. Oh, the one that wasn't kicked all the way. Yeah. Okay, we're back. Kick through. This looks better than the old version, though. I couldn't adjust it to make it look as good on CGA. There's some extra process inside.
Okay, so there you have it. That was my experience, and this is kind of a big deal for me, and really a big deal for any candy cab lovers out there that are really fans of that form factor but don't have the opportunity to own one of the cabinets. Now, I was able to get my hands on one, but I had to import it, and it cost $2,500 just to get it home. Now, these things are very cool. They have a unique form factor. They are sort of a Japanese exclusive. But if you're a fan of gaming, if you're a fan of sitting down in gaming, fighters specifically, this is probably the perfect cab for you to get. So if you don't have the opportunity or the cash to spend, on importing an Astro City or something similar to that, this is definitely a great option for you. It comes to your house for varying price tags. Now, what are those price tags? Well, let's talk about it. You're talking about $1,000 for the bar top, and then another couple $100 for the base, and then another couple $100 to get this thing shipped to your house. So, you're talking, $1,500-ish. Is it worth it? Well, let's talk about some of the pros, some of the cons, and then I think I'll try to wrap this thing up in a nice bow. So let's talk about the pros. The pros are the metal construction of the cabinet. This is not some cheap toolbox that you bought from Harbor Freight or Lowe's or Home Depot, and then it's nuts and bolts. These are all threaded standoffs that you actually run the hardware into. So everything is really well thought out. It's engineered well. There's a lot of beefy components. The corner brackets that I showed you in the video, the fact that there is square tubing that frames out the entire base, it really makes a good sturdy base for that bar top. And the bar top is really just as sturdy. It's a really good solid foundation. And listen, metal is better than wood in several different ways. It's not going to be as brittle. It's not going to be as flimsy. It's going to take a little bit more of a beating, so that's definitely a plus side. Another pro is going to be that 26-inch 4x3 monitor. Unico is the only place you can really get one at this time. And the connectability, the flexibility of this monitor is just getting better and better. And with this new iteration, with the ability to have the potentiometers on the back of the monitor itself, so you can adjust that incoming CGA signal, it just makes it a better product. Now, it's also $300 by itself, so you have to factor that into the cost of this cabinet once you buy it. Another factor, another pro, is that it's actually, although it is metal construction, it's very lightweight. When you consider a 26-inch CRT and the weight of that, and then other cabinets, even my little Astro City back here, this thing is great. It's easy to roll around, but it's not really lightweight. I really couldn't pick it up. It's kind of tough to get your arms around anyway. But with the Nova Blast being separated from the base and the upper portion, it's still very, very lightweight, but still feels sturdy. So I think they really were able to kind of strike that balance between sturdy and lightweight. Now let's talk about some of the cons. The cons, it's funny, it's also one of the pros. It is the metal construction. With a wooden whatever, it's usually a little bit easier to make the repairs. A little wood glue, a little some saws and some hand tools, that most people have in their house. It's going to be easy to make a repair on a wooden item versus a metal item. Like you saw in this video, there was some damage done in shipping, and so a body shop was required to really get this, repaired correctly. Then you have to prime, then you have to paint. So it is a little more involved. So while it will take a beating and it's sturdy, when it does receive that beating, whether it's a dent or whatever, it's going to take a lot more effort and even more expense to fix that, to make it look just right. Another con is going to be connectivity, but not so much the availability or the variety of connectivity, but what's going to be in the box. So this is more of a connectivity question, I guess. What's in the box? What's going to be included? You saw that we were using a CPS2 cartridge, a JAMA board, A and B board, and that's great out of the box, but as you know, with a standard JAMA connection, you're only going to have the ability to use 3 buttons. That was a 6-button fighter, so you really need a kick harness. Depending on the JAMA board you're using, it's going to require a different kick harness. Is that going to be included with your purchase? Is that going to be something you have to buy separately? How much is that going to cost? What is going to be the availability of that? Those questions need to be answered. Once again, it was a prototype that I put together, so I don't really have all those answers for you. But I will say that Unico is aware these questions are out there. They just need to provide some answers. And then the last item is both a pro and a con, depending on how you feel about it, and it's the price. Considering what you're getting, some people will think that, the price is good. Even if you, let's say the standard, not the bar top, but the bar top and the base, that price tag being, I think it's $11.99. Some people are going to think that that is a great price for what you're getting, especially when you consider, if you weigh that option against a Vuelix, which is similar, except it's a 16:9 aspect ratio monitor for more modern games. So it's comparable in pricing. When you consider, the pricing against a original Japanese candy cab, it's half the price, a little less than half the price, even if you consider shipping. So some will see that as a pro. Some will see this as a con. Some will say that this is cool, but just not quite the price, or not quite the worth the price that you're advertising. Some people are going to want free shipping. Some people are going to want these things to be included. Maybe it should only be $1,000 for the bar top and the base all together. Some people are going to say, hey, cut some things out to save some costs. We've already seen this debate with the, I think it's the DS5. Those connectors on the front of the cabinet are actually going to be removed because of fan feedback, which I think is a plus. Me personally, whether you like those connectors on the front of the cabinet or not, the fact that they listen to the community is definitely a plus. But that price, will it be a pro? Will it be a con? My opinion is simply this. I think it is a pro. I think this is a good thing. So, that's going to be my 2 cents. Is it worth the money? I think if you're going to spend $1,000, it's definitely worth getting the base. I think if you're already at the point where you think that you're willing to spend $1,000 on this, go ahead and spend a little extra, get the base. Trust me, you will thank me. The way these things are packaged, the way these things go together, it just makes a ton of sense. So the big thing for me is going to be connectivity, options, adapters, what's going to be available. These are a lot of custom boards. developed by Unico. What's the compatibility? We're gonna need to see a list. We're gonna need to see a lot of adapters. We're gonna need to see a lot of information. And these are questions that may be the reason why people have not pre-ordered as of yet. They want to see more. And Unico, if they're smart, they're gonna deliver sooner rather than later. Anyway, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the channel. Let me know what you think about this in the comments section below. Are you sold? Is this a pro? Is the price? Is the price a pro? Is the price a con? How do you fall on this? How does this all shake out for you? Are you going to get one? Have you pre-ordered? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Y'all have a blessed day. I will see all of you next time.